Good evening, everybody. Let me get my stuff up. I'm late again. Sorry, dudes. Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday night edition of Into the Night with me, Sean Kelly. What a show tonight! It's going to be a great night. I got my good friend, author Maxim Furek, and good evening, Rose. Good to see you, hon. I hope you got that on Facebook, which is pretty good. I want to apologize to everybody. Um, I was on my wrong page yesterday. Hello, Cindy. Good to see you. And I truly apologize that I did not see your comments. And I hope tonight I can see the comments off of Facebook. Um, well, today is October. What do you got? October 1st. And yes, hi Cindy. Hello, Heidi. Um, today is a this month is ADHD Awareness Month, and I'm glad they have a month, and it's tough having this. One day I'm going to have a show on it. Um, I don't know, probably some Sunday or whatever, because I really need to talk about it. And I want to thank UPRN Talk Radio 105.3 New Orleans, 107.7 Mississippi. And I also want to thank Carnation for sponsoring this hour and my Sunday night hour show. So I can give you an hour here of my time, which I enjoy very, very much. Got all my great people in the chat room so far, and I'm looking for new people to come into chats. Again, before I get going, I want to apologize for last week because I was not on the right page. But I see somebody in the chat room right now that says Facebook, so I must be doing something right tonight. But without further ado, okay, the guy I asked for to become a guest for me tonight, I have known Maxim for maybe over a year now, and he's an author, and he has 4 books out now. And the first one, because I remember his very first book, he was on my show, and we got it out there for him and all kinds of good stuff for him. So he is the author of The Coal Region Hoodoos, The Shepton Mythology, UFO Esoteric, and his recent book that's out is The Lost Tribes of Bigfoot, which I think is going to be an interesting book to read. I haven't got a chance to read it, but every time I see Maxim got a book out, I got to get him on the show so he can talk about it. But without further ado, my friend Maxim. Welcome aboard, Max.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Great to be back again. And I think this is either the 3rd or 4th time that I've been here with you, right?
Every book that you put out there, we had you on.
Yeah, and just for a little bit of clarification here, Lost Tribes of Bigfoot is my 7th book. And I started out as a rock journalist, so I had a couple of rock and roll books. And what happened was, and I'll make this real short because you've heard the story before, but I was connecting the song Timothy, the 1971 song Timothy about cannibalism. It was a fictitious song, and I was connecting that with the 1963 Shepton mine disaster that was a case of 3 miners that were trapped and only 2 came out. And they were trying to figure out who was the third, what happened to the third miner. And back in 63, as well as today, there's been allegations of cannibalism. So, Sean, as I was researching the Shepton book, I saw all kinds of paranormal oddities, like, for example, out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences, and afterlife experiences, weird stuff. And Shepton, the Shepton mythology that was published the first day of 2016, kicked it off for me. So that opened up the doors to the paranormal. And it was pretty much a case of the paranormal coming after me, not me going after it. I mean, I found these energies coming through me. So anyway,
well, maybe that's the reason why you started writing about the paranormal. You know, my friend Heidi says, "Hello, Maxim."
Yeah, hi Heidi. Where's Heidi from?
She's from Colorado, buddy.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, yeah. We just got back from Colorado Springs.
I bet that was an interesting trip, huh?
That was my. I'm a Vietnam veteran, so that was my Navy reunion, and
cool.
that was a great time. But
thank you for serving, brother. Thank you for serving.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. So anyway, it's been 9 years that I've been dabbling in the paranormal, writing these books, and just meeting this wonderful, universe of paranormal and supernatural people, and just amazing, especially the energies from so many of these podcasts that are really spreading the word and educating the world about, the paranormal. So just that, thanks, Sean, for what you do. I mean, for so many of us.
Thank you. I truly appreciate it.
Oh, for sure.
I have some questions here that I'd like to ask you about it.
Okay.
Oh, right. Banter with Richie B. Richie B. That's who you should get on with. Richie, good to see you, my friend. Doing great. Oh, my gosh. Richie has a show. It's called Bantering with Richie B.
Okay.
And it's a Bigfoot show. And
oh, good. Yeah.
I can, send him some.
Please do. Yeah. Put him in touch
your
with
information for you.
Yeah.
But, what got you? I mean, I see that you wrote these other books, but to me, it seems like you're getting more into the Bigfoot paranormal writing. How come? Hey, Stoney.
Well, in 2023, my book, Co-Region Hoodoo.
Yeah.
Paranormal Tales from Inside the Pit. That came out, and I had 2 chapters on Bigfoot. The Bigfoot Enigma and the Bigfoot hypotheses. And I just tried to figure out in 2 chapters what this was all about. So those 2 chapters opened up doors. I was invited to the Bigfoot Expo in Elysburg. That was their first one. That was Gwen and Michael Purcell. And she's been doing a lot. She's like the foot soldier. She's the commander in chief in Eastern Pennsylvania. She's putting on these expos and bringing in all these really good luminaries. So Gwen was the first one in 2023. And then also I was invited to Johnstown at the Masonic, where they had their first expo. Right. And I was there with Eric Altman and Stan Gordon and Ron Murphy, the Western Pennsylvania Bigfooters. I mean, those guys are, I guess, legendary out there. They got their names.
Yes, they are.
So anyway, that was 2023. So after Co-Region Hoodoo came out, there was a lot of attention to me and to my chapters on Bigfoot. And I said, wait a second, I found a demographic. I mean, they're coming after me. I'm not going after them. So I decided to start putting some stuff together, and I expanded on those 2 chapters, and and turned that into The Lost Tribes of Bigfoot, which is probably my best book, but I love it. I think it's really
Yes, it is. Yes, it is a very good book.
Picture me as a rock journalist there. That's in Greenwich Village on the back. And but anyway, it's a great book, and we're getting a wonderful response. Lost Tribes of Bigfoot was published by Hangar One, and they're the guys that do Monster Quest, and they're into Bigfoot and flying saucers. So, it was a pretty good hookup with them.
Right. Joe, hello. Good to see you, buddy. Thank you for coming in. Carrie Lynn, there's Carrie Lynn's in the house. And she says, hi, Sean and Max. Carrie Lynn also is a host of her own show here
Yeah.
on UPR and Talk Radio, The Spirit Switchboard. And you can find that Friday nights,
Okay.
6:10 p.m. to 8:10 p.m. And if I didn't say it, if I forgot, I'll repeat it anyway. Bantering with Richie B. He has his show on Saturday evenings at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And there goes my light, Max, when someone's up here with me, dude.
It's the Men in Black.
There's a ghost or a Men in Black. I don't know, but it's blinking, dude.
Wow, okay.
But, yeah, so.
Well, yeah, I'd really be grateful if you could put those folks in touch with me. And
I sure will, buddy.
And I could share my email with them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's no problem. I will do that for you.
Okay, good.
Oh, you're welcome, Carolyn. It's so good to see you. I miss you, girl. And you're welcome, Banter. But you said that in 2023 you were thrust into the realm of Bigfoot and cryptozoology. What? Yeah. Why? How? Was it you? Was it your spirit guide, or what was it?
Well, it's all of the above. You could give me 15 other reasons why. I mean, why are people looking for this being, this cryptid that a lot of scientific people say doesn't exist? I mean, what's the motivation? And I think my motivation is probably pretty much the same as everybody else's. We all have that Indiana Jones spirit in us where we want to discover and find and search, look for the Holy Grail and look for Bigfoot. And it's just part of us. It's part of man. That's why we climb mountains and crawl down into caves and all that. So, I was just curious, as an academic, as a researcher, what's going on? And in the book, I use a jumping off point. I say, if it's not flesh and blood, and let me say this, because I straddle both sides. I'm not saying that it's not flesh and blood, because I could defend that. And those Sasquatchers can defend that viewpoint. But I say, if it's not flesh and blood, then what is it? And I take a look at Einstein's interdimensional theory that was, put out there by people like Jacques Vallée and John Keel. And I talk about, Jung's collective unconsciousness, where maybe that image of Bigfoot is a remnant of something from the prehistoric past, where our ancestors, the cavemen, saw something that gets filed in our head, in our amygdala. And then at times of stress and danger, we search those data banks. And what we're looking at is something that has happened millions of years ago with our ancestors. So again, these are just theories. And I think that it's important to go and take a look at these theories. Rosemary Ellen Guiley was the one that talked about Bigfoot having paranormal abilities. That she said that they have a thing called bilocation or rapid transport, that you see them in front of you and then behind you, and they can transform for something that's from the material and tangible to something that's immaterial. So the same thing that the coastal natives, the Native Indians up in British Columbia, were saying that Sasquatch is a shapeshifter, has paranormal abilities. And they've been saying this for thousands of years. And it just took us, our white civilization, a while to catch up to that, but they've been talking about it for a long time.
Okay, so let's go back to coal region hoodoo for a moment here, okay? Why did you include two different chapters about Bigfoot in the book?
Yeah, only because there was so much data there about it. I mean, if you were to go and Google Bigfoot on Amazon Books, and pretty much they're like the only game in town, or the biggest game in town. But if you were to do that, you're going to see hundreds and hundreds of books devoted to Bigfoot or Sasquatch or abominable snowman, Yeti, Bigfoot, Sasquatch. I mean, there's tons of them, but And I was interested in the topic. And, when I was writing Coal Region Hoodoo, I was concentrating pretty much on Western Pennsylvania, your area, Sean, and
Right.
and Chestnut Ridge. And so I wrote, an article about Chestnut Ridge and the incidents of seeing Bigfoot and UFOs there. I want to say this for the folks that are subscribers to Fate magazine. I'm going to be in the next issue of Fate, full color. This is brand new, and my article is on Chestnut Ridge. So if you have any interest in that,
that's cool.
Check it out, because Chestnut Ridge is going to get its notoriety. I mean, I'm hoping to go and, I mean, not that you need me, but a lot of people know.
Everybody, helps out. Everybody out there in the world who is listening, and people that are in the chat room. But before I go on what I want to say, Carrie Lynn, Richie can't see you. I cannot figure this Facebook, YouTube stuff for my thing, but it's good to see both YouTube and Facebook going here. But Richie says hello, Carrie Lynn. But Chestnut Ridge here in Pennsylvania, it's close to where I live, is like in the top 5 of the most cryptids, most Bigfoot areas in the United States.
Right. Yeah.
And go ahead.
And as Pennsylvanians, we're proud of that. I mean,
we are, man.
Up there with California and Washington and the Pacific Northwest.
Oregon. I know it's like maybe out there in Oregon.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure they have them in Colorado too.
Yeah. But Coal Region Hoodoo is Pennsylvania centric. I mean, there's things in there like Bigfoot and UFOs and ghosts and hauntings and demonology that are endemic. They're, all over the world. But this book, Coal Region Hoodoo, is just pretty much Pennsylvania centric. I talk about our stuff. Like, for example, I start off with Night of the Living Dead, and that's in your backyard. That's in Butler County. Yes. They shot that in Evans City, 1968. And a lot of people thought it was about zombies, but pretty much it was about the world our nation unraveling in 68 with the Tet Offensive and the North Korea capturing the Pueblo, and Martin Luther King getting assassinated and Robert Kennedy being assassinated, and all kinds of horrible, horrible things that were happening in 68. But the Republic stood firm. We endured, we got through all that nasty shit. So we're, but it was, but 68, if you think 2024 is bad, you should revisit 1968, read my book and see how bad it really was.
Okay. Definitely. Everybody got to read the book. Hi, Michelle. He's from Oregon. River has a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Are people who are called sensitives or clairsentients more likely to be able to see or sense Bigfoot and other cryptids versus those who are not sensitive to their surroundings?
Yeah. Good question. I have a theory about altered states of awareness. It's an altered state of perception that certain people have abilities. And let's just say, as a premise, that cryptids, Bigfoot, UFOs, orbs, miracles, angels, whatever, guardian angels, spirit guides are there all the time. They're in front of us, but guys like me never see them for whatever reason. I don't have that higher vibration. I don't have that higher level of consciousness, but some people do. And I think some people are blessed to have that ability that they can see these things. And that's what I think. That's what I think it is.
Michelle says that she's fascinated there are different tribes of Bigfoot. Okay, question to ask you. Stoney says yes, totally always with us. I have a question for you. Not a question, but can you explain your book that you have out here, The Lost Tribes of Bigfoot? Just a fast synopsis. There it is. Okay. Can you do that for my people?
Well, what I did was when I was investigating that, there were so many different theories about what Bigfoot represents that I used a metaphor, the lost tribes of Bigfoot. And we're talking about things like Gigantopithecus, that people like Dr. Jeff Meldrum believes may be a connector to Bigfoot. Gigantopithecus, which was a 12-foot ape that looked like an orangutan. Some people believe that Giganto, that is supposed to be extinct, but some people believe he still exists. So who knows? But Gigantopithecus, Neanderthal man, Lucy, who was discovered in 1974, and Lucy was that Australopithecus, the earliest known hominid, human-like thing, not ape-like, but human-like, that we've ever discovered. So that was 1974, and she was only 3.5 foot tall. And they named her Lucy after, any idea, Sean?
Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
10 points for you, my man. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So that came out in 67, and they were out there. They discovered Lucy. It's a whole skeleton. I mean, come on, this was like the Holy Grail. So they're out there drinking and dancing there. I think it was in Ethiopia, and they're playing Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. So they called it Lucy. But all of these things, whether it's abominable snowman, Yeti, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, swamp ape, missing links, whatever, there's all these dogman, there's all these cryptids out there that we're trying to figure out where they fit and everything. So I talked about the lost tribes of Bigfoot. I put all this stuff together, in one book. Read about them, learn about anthropology and primatology and and the fossil record and all that. Learn some science. One thing that we need to do as students of the paranormal is to educate ourselves and get a little bit better, and then be able to intellectually talk with one another and to expand the scope of our discussion, our dialogue. So I like to think that that's one thing that I try to do as an academic. So not as
I'm glad that you think about that. I've been trying to push that, and not push it, but I keep I want to do the exact same thing, but it's really, really hard to get people to be on the same page or work together.
Yeah, right. It's the hardest thing.
Yes. Now, the lost tribes of now this is interesting. I was checking this out. The lost tribes of Bigfoot was recently banned at the 2024 Bloomberg Fair,
the
largest country fair on the East Coast.
Yeah,
that's a significant news. What happened there, buddy?
I know, my book just came out and then they banned it. Bloomsburg Fair is the largest county fair, I believe, on the East Coast. And if it's not the largest, it's like in the top 3. But it's huge, thousands and thousands of people. I've been a part of this. They invite the writers there every year. This year, I was disinvited. They didn't want my book, The Lost Tribes of Bigfoot, there. And the only thing I can get, they weren't playing straight with me. They didn't really tell me. And there was no way to fight City Hall on this. But I think that some of this was from my one chapter on, is Bigfoot the new religion? And I believe that some people, congregate together, they search for Bigfoot, much like a church, with having their own sacred values, and Bigfoot being the higher power and all this. I think some people may have been offended, maybe some right-wing evangelicals. But I don't know. But all I know is that I was deprived of a whole lot of sales because I typically do pretty good there. So banned in Bloomsburg. So
that's ridiculous. Now see, that stuff like that, man, that just drives me crazy.
Listen. As a writer researcher, I deserve better. So what can I tell you?
Of course, at least they could have given you a better answer. At least they could have came out. Michelle says she was fascinated. River says, my friend Stony says, thank you, Maxim. And she throws a little ghost and ET up. River Rose says, I was going to say the evangelical community that believes in book banning. And River's right about that. It could have been them. You know what I mean? About, banning you from being there. But
the word's not about the book, because I've been on like I don't know how many, like 20, 25 podcasts since the book. It's only been out for a short time, but there's some things you can't fight. Some things you can't fight, and you got to know. which how to pick your battles, but that's okay. I mean, I don't need them. I was invited to Baltimore to the Fort Fest this past weekend. We're going to the Alba Twitch Festival this coming weekend in Columbia. That's outside of Lancaster. So we're busy. We're getting booked as guest speakers. Baltimore was incredible. We had people from New York City that came down there to film it. So, I'm just excited. I mean, my career, my world is expanding. And so whether Lost Tribes of Bigfoot gets banned or not, I'm still on the road, and I'm still, doing it. So
Stone wrote, and she wrote it correctly, and she's right on the nose. When you get banned, you're touching on a hidden truth, and truth scares them.
Yeah. Well, one thing is, I believe in science, not anti-science. And let's talk science. Let's not make things up. Let's not confabulate. And I'll give you a really good example. The one thing in the book, we had gone to Noah's Ark down there in Lexington, Kentucky, Williamstown, Kentucky. And they showed in Noah's Ark, which was built to scale, a cubit from the elbow to the longest finger. That's a cubit. So they had all these, it was that many cubits long. Biggest wooden structure in the world, supposedly. But anyway, they had cages for all the animals on Noah's Ark, which included little baby T-Rexes and little baby Stegosauruses. It's my understanding that those dinosaurs were wiped out by, it was called the KT event. It was an asteroid or a meteorite that came down, wiped them out, and then man didn't appear until more than 65 million years later. So man and dinosaurs did not walk the earth at the same time. If anybody tells you that, they don't know their history, their archaeology, and they're full of it. They are feeding you some anti-scientific data. So anyway, I hit them hard in the Lost Tribes of Bigfoot, and I'm not going to back down. I mean, there's truth and there's lies, and we have to know the difference and point out the difference. So, I'm not going to be, there's too many of us that thrive on anti-science, and they thrive on conspiracy theories. And, I don't do that.
You know what? I know that you'll take care of that situation. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, Max, when he has his mind set on something, everybody, it's just like, and it's like, prove me wrong, everybody, prove me wrong. But Elsa, first of all, I didn't know if I said Joe Fox. Hi, Joe Fox. Thank you for coming in. I forgot about that. And Elsa, and she's from, I want to say Australia or New Zealand too, Elsa is. She agrees with Stone. Hello, Sean from New Zealand. Yeah, I do believe it is.
Well, this is amazing. This is so interactive, and it's amazing. You're one of the few podcasts that actually do this and have this interactive experience live, during the show live. I mean, this is pretty awesome. So hello, New Zealand,
No, well, Stoney's from New Zealand. Elsa, she just told me she's from Australia. But she has a good show. Every now and then I'll listen to her podcast down in Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, she wants some guy from Pennsylvania with a funny accent.
New Zealand has hairy man Aussie as Yowie.
Yowie, yeah. Okay, Yowie.
Hey, right. Stephen. Well, Mr. Wojo. He's like the co-host with Bantering with Richie B on Saturday nights.
Okay.
Carolyn
says, you got all the media guys here, Sean.
Oh yeah, I mean, and I'm just so grateful for all these people who come in and check out my show.
Yeah.
So I must be doing something right.
I think so. Yeah.
I must be doing something right. But you know what? It is at the 30-minute mark, dude. And I'll have a couple more questions to ask when we get back. So at the 30-minute, I'm going to play some commercials. And hey, Kaysen, he's from Sri Lanka. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And what I'm going to do is play some commercials, and I'll be back with shortly. So if you have to go have a smoke, it's your good looks. All right. We'll be back in 70 seconds. All right, guys? Hold on. I got to play some. Okay. Who can I play? Here we go. We'll do this.
I had had enough. Well, you drove out there into the middle of nowhere and had some sort of loud verbal display challenging ET in general out in the middle of nowhere?
That's what I was doing. I actually had a pistol in my hand at the time. I was really ticked off. When I was having this fit, I was waving the gun in the air, okay, and I had this fit. And at this moment, I said, okay.
He was a Louisiana man named Montaldo. Folks around called him Six Gun Joe. Worked with ICAR, don't you know? Investigating UFOs. Out for a drive with a gal one night, they stopped to check out the reporting site. When an alien lit right there on the ground, he commenced to throwing his weight around. Now, old Six Gun didn't take too kindly to that kind of thing, especially without Vaseline or anything like that, you know. Seriously. Well, Six Gun looked that critter right in the eye and said, "Any last wish before you die, yo?" Reached for his gun, quick as a twitch, and said, "Fill your claw, you son of a bitch." Now a legend spread across the land about this pistol-waving man. But if you're
Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Welcome to Negotiating Happiness, the show that helps you find happiness, success, and balance in your work and life. I'm Adriana Fiestra, your host for this journey into entrepreneurship and personal growth. We're broadcasting live on 107.7 and 105.3 FM in New Orleans as part of the United Public Radio Network. We explore the latest strategies, insights, and stories from successful entrepreneurs and experts. From managing stress to building a thriving business, we've got you covered.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. This is me, Sean Kelly, host of Into the Night on Tuesday night here, and I also have a show on Sunday nights. Again, I want to thank UPRN Talk Radio, 105.3 New Orleans, 107.7 Mississippi, for allowing me to give you the time, here on this platform. Now, I have my guest, Maxim Furek, his fourth book out, The Lost Tribes of Bigfoot. And we discussed a little bit for the first half. So we're going to ask just a couple more questions for Maxim. And then, you know the deal. I got to get going because it's only an hour long. But Stony Hobbit, see, that's my girl all over. Sometimes Bigfoot gets confused with Sasquatch, yet he doesn't mind.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
That is really, really good.
Okay.
So
well, she needs to stick in Yowie with that too. Do it again. Get her on a Yowie.
Oh, I'm sure she'll find out how that works.
Yeah.
But just give a quick rundown of your new book, The Lost Tribes of Bigfoot.
Well, the one thing I want to point out with The Lost Tribes of Bigfoot, it has something that I'm going to suggest that your readers may never have heard about. I may be wrong, but it has a thing called IBT, Immersive Book Technology. And if you take a look, there's 8 different parts in the book. You see that there's a QR code. And what you do is you take your phone, your camera, and you take the camera and shoot that QR code and press the little yellow rectangle, and then a video of me pops up, and I'll give a synopsis of those chapters. So I do that 8 times. And Hanger 1 said, well, what are your favorite chapters in there? And I like the Patterson-Gimlin film, and I have a chapter, the connection between UFOs and Bigfoot. So these are the ones that I wanted to talk about. But the IBT technology is brand new. And what Hanger 1 did was they took existing, it's almost like taking crashed UFOs and, reverse engineering what they found. But they're using these QR codes in a very innovative way. And I'm just glad that my book is one of the first to use that. So when you get a copy of The Lost Tribes of Bigfoot, you're also getting access to these, to the immersive book technology and those QR codes. That's pretty amazing. And I've tried, and it works. It works. So, hooray for Hanger 1. The thing about Lost Tribes of Bigfoot, I wanted to write something that was apart from all the other books that are out there. So you can read the book and get a who's who, a whole comprehensive understanding of Bigfoot, the 4 horsemen of Sasquatchery that were the pioneers for this. Some of the Russian researchers that looked after the abominable snowman and Yeti and Almas, and all of this. So, including the hoaxers, and I have a chapter on the hoaxers, and the most infamous hoaxers I included were the Piltdown Man and also the Minnesota Iceman, and both of them were hoaxes that the scientific and academic and political communities knew about, but they looked the other way because it was to their advantage to allow this hoax to breathe air and to exist and to take substance. So I call them out in my book, The Lost Tribes of Bigfoot. I mean, this is totally a hoax and anti-scientific. And but read that. I mean, it's just amazing how the Piltdown Man went down and how the Minnesota Iceman went down, suckering in even, noted cryptozoologists like Bernard Helveman and Ivan T. Sanderson. So they were desperately looking for the missing link connecting man to ape. And they thought that this Minnesota Iceman was that.
That's
but it's
interesting. Not. Okay. Joe Fox says, then I'll get to Stonies. Bigfoot has nothing doing with an actual living carbon-based life form, does he? ? He is a spiritual being, isn't he? ?
Yeah. Well, in my book, again, my preface, my starting off point is, if it's not flesh and blood, then what is it? So I get into all these possibilities. However, taking a look at the Bigfooters, and we need to take a look at J. Allen Hynek, the ufologist who was working with the government's, it was Project Grunge, Sign, and Blue Book. And he was a skeptic. But towards the end, he started to say, wait a second, there may be something here. These people that are saying unidentified things, they see something, and we need to go and believe them and give them validity, not to castigate them. But Hynek talked about the levels of high strangeness. And when you look at some of these Bigfooters, you have eyewitnesses. So that's just one level. That's just one aspect of high strangeness. But if you have eyewitnesses who also smell this cryptid and also have the tracks that are bigger than human beings and bigger than bear, and strides that are larger than any man or bear could make, then you have something there. It's not flesh and blood proof, it's not DNA, and it's not acceptable to the scientific community. But I contend that there's something there.
Go get him, brother. Go get him.
Yeah,
go get him.
and then even with guys like, I think it was Ron Moorhead, who was taping video or tape recording these sounds, these whistles of Sasquatch. So you have high levels of strangeness, and there's just a collection of things that are happening at the same time that just shows that there has to be something here. Which
Interesting.
sans the body, but not the body.
Okay, I got a couple other ones in here, and let's get to Heidi, and then we'll get to Stody. Uh, Heidi says, I heard on an intriguing theory regarding Bigfoot. If you believe in the Anunnaki, it is said that when messing with our DNA, the ones that didn't get theirs altered is Sasquatch.
Well, we need more than just that. But I think that if ancient aliens, if guardian angels or gods came down and tampered with us, it wasn't Homo erectus, as been theorized. I believe it was the next one in line, our closest living relative, and that was Neanderthal. And I believe that it's possible that they compromised Neanderthal, and as Homo sapiens became more cognitive and developed our cognition, I believe that Neanderthal, who scientists consider a primitive caveman, and a caveman, a human, a hominid ape creature, they don't give Neanderthal credit, but I believe that there's a possibility that ancient aliens, and again, this is my theory, hijacked Neanderthal and gave them these psychic abilities. They got these psychic abilities, not Homo sapiens. We came next, but it wasn't Homo erectus who got this, but it was Neanderthal who was the perfect candidate. And when you look at that whole evolutionary line from Lucy, Australopithecus to Homo erectus to Neanderthal to us. Another thing too with Neanderthal, our closest living, well, at one time living relative, 30% of us have as much as 3% Neanderthal DNA. And that's because Homo sapiens and Homo erectus and Neanderthal walked the earth at the same time. They interbred. 30% of us have as much as 3% DNA, Neanderthal DNA. And what we know, and there may be more, but what we know is that the Neanderthal DNA gave us hair color, sleeping patterns, and also cardiac issues. So those three things. But when Stitchin talks about the Anunnaki coming down, he talked about them interbreeding with Homo erectus, and I think he got that wrong. I mean, my personal theory is that Neanderthal makes more sense on the evolutionary scale. And again, I'm no anthropologist or primatologist, but I read this stuff and I research it, and that makes more sense to me. So Neanderthal is not out of the picture.
All right. Thank you for that. I hope that answered your thing, Heidi. That was interesting.
That was, yeah.
Stone, wow, I don't have that tech yet. Where can we get the book and how much? What do I have to do to get a signed copy?
Yeah. My website is www.maximfurek.com. So contact me, and then we'll discuss shipping and everything else. And I'd love to give you an autographed copy, and I'll try to make it worth your while. Unfortunately, everything's gone up. Medium, well, whatever. I don't need to go into, cry. I mean, everybody got their issues to deal with. But contact me on my website, maximfurek.com, and let me know that you're interested in a signed copy of The Lost Tribes of Bigfoot, and we'll, work a deal. So it'd be great. And then also looking, if anybody buys the copy, please put a review on Amazon.com. That helps us quite a bit.
Hey, Michael Anthony's in the house. Hey, Mike, good to see you, brother. Joe Fox says, I firmly believe there certainly is no missing link. Kaysen says there's a government experiment facility in Texas, and they create Bigfoot-like creatures, but not Bigfoot. There's a video of a YouTuber infiltrating the facility and encountering them.
Yeah.
And then Heidi says, so intriguing. Yes, that makes sense. Thank you. Stoney says, I see that as minerals ones subjected to high copper or no gray. And Stoney says, thank you, Max.
Yeah. I do want to say, throughout my book, I refute the idea of the missing link. And listen, school's in session. There is no such thing as the missing link. If anybody tells you that, they're a hoaxer, or they're ignorant about science. Man and ape had a common ancestor. It's called the single common ancestor, SCA. And millions of years ago, apes split from us, and they climbed the trees and evolved successfully. And then later, man evolved and climbed those same trees and came down as Homo erectus and then Homo sapiens. But we didn't come from apes. There's no missing link. You're not going to find a creature out there, that's the link between apes and man, because it didn't happen. So forget about the missing link. And if you still believe in that, start doing your research, and at least let's all of us get on the same page, with at least one thing. There is no missing link. So
Michael says below level 7, and Stony, she says, I am the missing link. She's funny.
That's good. Okay.
She is so cute. All right. I want to ask you this one last question, and I know there's going to be an interesting explanation to it. And it kind of is interesting. Michael Anthony says Germany wouldn't have been trying to pair us up if there was a link. It's because they didn't have a link. But the last question I want to ask you before we let you go, and it's still interesting. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. Where is it at? Can you explain why the most controversial chapter in your book is Bigfoot, Our New Religion? Can you explain that?
Yeah, it's a chapter that pisses off a lot of people. A lot of people that are just sort of rock solid in their maybe in their religiology. Okay, and that's fine. But we and I were talking about sex, politics, and religion before we came on the air. And as far as religion goes, I mean, I don't care what anybody worships or who they worship. Just don't shove it down my throat. Who you worship is between you and your higher power. It's sacred. It's none of my business. So I think that what I did in that chapter is Bigfoot, Our New Religion. I started to take a look at some things that demonstrate that people, first of all, that man made in the image of God, man who is godlike, has a spiritual essence, a spiritual side. We have a spiritual need that we need to fulfill. Listen to this. I'm a baby boomer. Our group was born between 1964 and 1946 to 1964. Let me get that right. There's a statistic comparing us with Generation Z. Generation Z are these kids born after 1997. The oldest are 27 years old. With a comparative study, 64% of baby boomers believed in organized religion and God. Only 64%, only 24% of Generation Z believes in organized religion or God. So the question is, if you believe my premise that we are spiritual beings and we have to exercise that spirituality, then how are other people doing it if they're not going to church? And that's where I believe Bigfooters come in. They have their own church, their temple, their higher power, their shared value system and beliefs, and they go out into the woods and they have their sacrament and their sacrifice and everything else. So that's the reality. And I could give you 101 other, possibilities like that, but it's still going to piss off a whole lot of people because they just can't see things the way they are. Remember, we're made in the image of God. We have a brain, we have cognition. Right. And figure things out. We have common sense. It's not just one thing or one way, and even with, you have, what is it? Let me see if I remember. Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, and Muslim, the four major faiths. But then you also have agnostic and atheists that believe in nothing, or so they say. And so there's a lot of room there in this realm of religion and spirituality, to fit Bigfoot in there, legitimately. So
right.
I don't know if anybody else has. I think that's the main reason why my book got banned in Bloomsburg.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we have to get going here. I'm going to run this down Tim Roxbury, thank you for that. AZ son, good to see you. Joe says, did he say common sense? Elsa says creation is always. So real quick, Max, thank you for being on the show. And do you have any new books coming out?
Yeah, I'm playing around with a couple. I have one that I was playing around with called Catholic Mysticism, and we'll see how that goes. But I've been able to do a couple of programs on Catholic mysticism, and I got over 100 people each time. I mean, Catholics looking for some answers, but I talk about saints and miracles and Saint Teresa of Avila and all that, Padre Pio. So just interesting stuff. And
so real quick, Max, we got to get going here, bud. Sorry for interrupting you, but where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on my website, maximfurek.com, or you can check out the books on amazon.com. Lost Tribes of Bigfoot, Coal Region Hoodoo, Flying Saucer Esoteric.
Dude, I appreciate you being on, man. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you, Sean.
Oh,
thanks
man,
for the work you do.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Children, if you can, please go to your parents, give them a hug and tell them that you love them. And parents, please go to your children, give them a hug and tell them that you love them. You have to do that. And if you have no parents and if you have no children, please find somebody to give them a hug and tell them that you love them, because those 3 words go a long way. I love you go a long way. And on that note, I want to wish everybody a good evening, and I will definitely see everybody here Sunday night. Okay? Have a good night and happy hunting.